Hello everyone, Watch This Review here with part 2 of 2010 in review. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 already, you'll probably want to watch that first, but hey, if you want to start by watching part 2 and then going back to 1 or not watching 1 at all, who am I to stop you? Now, this is mostly being broken into 2 parts just because there's some technical shortcomings with the whole PS3, the heck is it called? I think it's just an iCam or something. In the iCreate software, just because you can only store so much footage at any one time, so it's being broken into 2 things. But continuing off from where I left off, and I believe that's the biggest disappointment of 2010. Originally not a category I was going to do anything for, but when I was pulling together ideas for 2010 in review, something just really stuck with me. And that's going to be, well, it's hard to paraphrase this, but basically it's the decision for some companies, especially with these video game companies, to shift some of their franchises from NECA, which, has traditionally covered a lot of the stuff, to DC Direct. Specifically, I'm talking about the God of War 3 stuff, which was disappointing on so many levels. Big Bad Toy Stars, the picture's up. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of NECA. In fact, I can't even pronounce their name right. Nika, Lee, I don't know. But one thing I will give them is, even if their stuff doesn't always have great articulation, it at least looks good. It's got decent paint, decent sculpts and everything, whereas the DC Direct God of War 3 stuff, ugh. I mean, besides the fact that it's really not articulate at all, almost all of them are in squatting positions, so it seems to be a really popular thing with a lot of DC Direct lines where you just toss your characters into squats. Builds a character, I bet, though. At any rate, most of them just don't look all that great. And the Zeus, kind of cool. I guess the Hercules isn't that bad, but the Hades and the Kratos, which are mostly in the squats, just look horrendous. Let me just see if I can't find better pictures. The one saving grace, though, is the fact that NECA already gave us decent renditions of some of these, so it's not as big of an issue as it might be. The one problem with the whole NECA line, though, I personally had at any rate, was the fact that they would do like dozens and dozens of variations of Kratos, but then like nothing for the other characters. And God of War 3 is definitely a time when you'd want to also get a, I'm just not finding good pictures of this, but when you'd want to show off some of the other characters. And that's the only one really cool thing about the DC Direct line. Of course, the other big problem I had was this wasn't the only property to get butchered by DC Direct. The other one, well, a few other ones got it, but specifically Naruto of Heavenly Sword. Waiting for a figure for this for like 2 years or more. Comes out, and once again, it's some sort of a crazy squat. I don't know if she's getting ready to sit down, or maybe she just doesn't want to touch the toilet seat when, nature calls. But, it's just an awful looking pose, not much articulation. I think only the arms and the head move on that one. Saw it in stores. I thought I was going to cave on it, but I totally had to completely pass on that figure. It's really disappointing because, again, I liked the game Heavenly Sword. I thought Naruto was a great looking character, but right. Most disappointing thing of 2010. Plus, they really delayed on the whole Batman Arkham Asylum stuff, in addition to, just kind of doing some odd character picks at times. Although, admittedly, a lot of it's just that I was hoping to see a Killer Croc figure for that, but nothing can do. As for the worst toy line of 2010, I could just take the easy route and pick on some of the really guys who kind of have it coming. Like, let's say the Avatar, the Last Airbender toys, which were awful, and they were really distributed poorly. A lot of them just never seem to even hit stores or hit limited release. They did like 3 waves, but the waves didn't even come out that on like schedule. And then when the movies started getting kind of crappy reviews, I think a lot of stores just didn't bother carrying them. And the line was retailing for like 8 as well, so that kind of sucked. But no, this isn't actually the one I'm going to pick for the worst toy line of 2010. No, no, no. I have a entirely different choice here. And that would be the Spider-Man Fiercest Foes line. I mean, first off, a lot of it's just because the line's really, really poorly managed. Oh look, some of the photos I took are near the top. For one thing, we don't even know what the series' real name is. We've just been assuming it's the Fiercest Foes line because it says Fiercest Foes right here, but for all we know, it could be the 4-inch Spider-Man Classics. You've got to do something just to like really get your branding across. Now, the packaging is uninteresting. They have millions and millions of variations of Spider-Man in all sorts of outlandish get-ups that he'd probably never wear. And, they just sit on the pegs while the few decent figures really don't get any exposure, like the Rhino, for instance. That's my photo. But it just seems like Hasbro's lost the opportunity to really capitalize on bringing Spider-Man characters to the 4-inch scale, whereas they really can't with the Marvel Universe line and giving them like wholly new sculpts and stuff. But instead, we mostly get rehashes of Spider-Man and then a few kind of lackluster villains. The other really big issue is the fact that the articulation's kind of lousy. I guess it's more of a children's line than anything else, but you can have decent articulation on children's toys. The superposable Spider-Man has all the joints the line should have, but instead of going that route, they don't even have knee joints on some of them. Can you imagine? Venom over there, for instance, doesn't have it, and then the lack of ankle joints really does hurt a lot of other figures. But worst toy line of 2010, by far, or at least for the actively running stuff, not like those little crap cash-ins. It's definitely the Spider-Man Fiercest Foes line, if that's even its real name. And if you don't believe me about being more of a kids line, you should see some of the repacks. See the Water Battles one. They have pictures of it. Oh wow, they're going to be doing a scorpion and a lizard. Or is that... that's exactly what I mean. You don't know what's going on with the figure line. Nobody ever seems to have any info, but there's a 3-pack, here's one of it, where basically they just repainted a bunch of the characters and... Damn it. They're in like watercolors. Like we have this crazy orange rhino. Why do we have a crazy orange rhino? Right, but moving on. Toy lines. Now, I've already discussed a few of them kind of in depth, but Marvel Universe, I was originally just going to call it quits on because I had all the figures I thought I wanted at the scale, but they announced the X-23, the Doctor Strange, and a whole bunch of other ones that I do feel kind of the need to pick up, and I probably will continue buying at least a few of them. But now that the Marvel Legends will be coming back, that's also going to kind of get me off that scale. If only on an unconscious level. Marvel Legends, definitely excited about having been able to pick up any of the ones from this year, although really, I guess the big pack was the Deadpool pack, not so much the other ones. DC Universe Classics. It's somehow become my favorite actively running line at this point. Really, it just kind of snuck up on me like that, but definitely will be picking up Wave 16, Wave 17, don't really care so much about. That's the Brightest Day wave, or is it Blackest Night? I think it's Brightest Day. And then Wave 18 is going to have some stuff I want, so Wave 16 and 18 I'll definitely be picking up at least part of. I'm not sure if we'll get the whole wave. Wave 18's Collecting Connected's Apache Chief, who I honestly don't care about, but it's got a few other characters from it that I do like. Import-wise, I think I'm going to try to gravitate away from the import lines like your Reveltex, the Figmas, and even the SH Figuarts, well, especially the SH Figuarts. I mean, although they do like really neat stuff, but a lot of it's just kind of off scale, and then it's just considerably more expensive than the other stuff between the cost of importing it, the actual cost of the kits themselves. Whereas it's like works out to like $25 for a figure as opposed to like the whatever I pay in the US. Any other smaller figures, I mean, some of the lines actually are a bit more than that, but definitely we'll try to cut down imports yet again. I know I keep saying that, and I doubt I'll be able to do that. They did a Reveltech Remy from Black Lagoon. Wonder how old that is. Let me just pause this. Alright, the DC retroaction line, and, the retroaction lines in general, although I kind of am growing fond of the concept, I mean, price-wise, kind of not doing it for me. I mean, if I do continue to find them for really cheap, I will definitely probably pick up at least some of them. I would like to get the Captain Cold and Cheetah, and actually most of the villains, period, and then I don't know so much about the heroes. Now, they are going to have Darkseid in Wave 4, which I'll probably pick up in stores, and suppose they're also doing a Green Lantern wave. I saw some pictures of the John Stewart, which I didn't find too appealing. Oh, there he is. I think it's also got a Sinestro core costume, Sinestro, and some other ones that, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the Green Lantern core. And actually the others are right here. It's also going to be Guy Gardner, the Sinestro core Sinestro, and Kyle Rayner, so probably won't really care too much about that. The Iron Man 2 line. I'm not sure why we still have an Iron Man 2 line. I mean, the movie's come and gone from theaters. Went to DVD with its big push and everything. But yet we keep getting wave after wave announced, and even some figures that were like previously announced still aren't out yet, so it looks like the 4-inch lines could be continuing for quite some time. I don't really get that. I don't recall ever seeing a... Yeah, I don't think they've even done the Black Widow for that yet. That's an awful likeness, though. Yeah. But yeah, lots of stuff there. Most of which I probably won't buy, but I mean, one of the big problems with the Iron Man 2 line is just the fact that you've got so many different Iron Man suits, and a lot of them just sit on the shelves, keeping the few really decent ones from getting into stores. I mean, it's something that you really need to coordinate more on, like, their back end. For the new movie-themed waves, I'm pretty excited for the new Captain America stuff. The new Thor stuff, I mean, it doesn't look as nice, and I saw it in stores. I don't think I'll probably be picking up much of that. I mean, it's just the paint app isn't really there, and then, the sculpt detail isn't as cool. Transformers-wise, some of the new stuff coming out looks like it's kind of cool, so I might pick up a few items. I'm definitely going to pick up the Elita 1 from the new Transformers series. I mean, bike ones I kind of like anyway, just because they seem to transform a lot easier than planes. And they just look nicer in both the robot mode and the vehicle mode. It's just a much cleaner design, I find. As for the online stuff, specifically the Maddie stuff, I think the Masters Universe Classic line, not really all that interested at this point. There are definitely a few pieces that I will be picking up, like the Panther. I missed the Optic originally. We'll probably pick that up as well. And I definitely want to get the Aquaman Merman 2-pack for the Versus series. But I mean, in general, I don't really find it all that compelling, although I guess it's really nostalgic and everything. But at the same time, it just really doesn't capture, any old feelings I had towards the source material and stuff. And a lot of the sculpts just, I don't know, they just don't do it for me. I mean, it's definitely got some solid looking stuff going on there, but yeah. The Ghostbusters line, now I'd be really crazy excited if they did an Ecto 1. I mean, that's super essential, and I'm surprised that they still haven't gone ahead and done it. But I mean, so far, also ghosts. They really need to release just like some normal ghosts and stuff. Like maybe a pack of just ghosts instead of doing variants of the same characters and even the same head sculpts. Like the Ray Standstill's that awful fish puckered thing that looks, I don't know, it's indescribable. I mean, it's this kind of crap that H.P. Lovecraft was talking about when Eldritch abominations and crap. This head sculpt right here. Wow. This looks a little bit better than that. I mean, I really wish that at some point they'll go ahead and they'll give Ray a decent head sculpt. I mean, Dan Aykroyd is probably rolling over in his grave, which he was put into early by this horrendous head sculpt. Hey, look, a better image of it. Nightmare fuel. I mean, good God. Now, one other line that I haven't really mentioned so far, but I guess part of this just because it's increasingly become so irrelevant, but the DC Infinite Heroes line, does anybody know what's actually happening with this? I mean, the figures I can't really see in stores anymore, and I mean, it just seems like it's not getting any support. I mean, it's definitely starting to improve. We're getting better joints and everything, but I mean, even like the paint really has a ways to go. But I mean, it's just kind of disappointing that Mattel hasn't really had more presence on the 4-inch scale, even though I'm really happy with the 6-inch exposure, and that probably would get most of my business anyway. Again, at the same time, I do like seeing the 4-inch presence. The other line I didn't really discuss is the whole Star Wars stuff. Star Wars recently has been starting to appeal to me again, but I mean, one of the problems is, I mean, a lot of the characters I don't really care as much about. And the Saga Legends line seems to have like kind of crappy articulation where they have like the sort of just hinged hips as opposed to ball jointed. The Saga Legends, the vintage line really starting to look like the better stuff, but it recently is starting to like really see price hikes all over. I think all the retailers are $9 or more at this point. And plus, I mean, I don't know, some of them aren't as appealing as others, but I mean, the vintage line's definitely the way to go, it seems, at this point. And if I do continue collecting Star Wars stuff, I'll probably mostly stick more towards the vintage side rather than Saga Legends. And I think they also have a Clone Wars line that's still in the same packaging as the Saga Legends, just because they like to be as confusing as possible. But yeah, I think I've covered just about every actively running toy line. I will have comments on my thoughts on some of the other ones below, the ones that, you know, have come and gone. As for stuff that I'm interested in / looking forward to in 2011, like the Marvel Select Juggernaut, the SH Figuarts Cosma, who honestly is a little disappointing. This really cool Kotobukiya Proto Man kit, which is going to take a while to assemble. And of course, Marvel Universe-wise, I'm really excited for the Sentinel. Not terribly fond of the color choice that they went with, but I mean, I assume they'll probably do a variant as well, and I'll end up picking up like one of the standard and then maybe several of the variants. If the variant looks better, just several of the standards, but definitely some really cool stuff on the way in 2011. And also a lot of neat items I still haven't picked up from 2010. Definitely shaping up to be a pretty great year. I'm just really curious what DC Universe Classics is going to keep doing, just because they seem to be going on some really crazy tangents lately where a lot of their waves have more strict themes, like the Brightest Day wave, and even like the whole Superpowers, Super Friends wave. I'm just wondering if they're going to keep sticking to like that kind of a formula, or if they're going to go back to giving us more general waves again. We do know that one of the Collected Connects coming up is going to be Necron, just because he won the fans' choice. He was obviously the shoo-in for that one anyway. I mean, some of the choices for the alternates were pretty cool, but I mean, it's just like, who's going to pass a Necron? It's just a really, really awesome looking character who will be a very dynamic figure, I'd assume. So yeah, that has been 2011 in review. I kind of shot this like more sequentially and stuff just to get it done with, as opposed to like thinking about what I was going to say and then possibly editing a little bit, so it's more free flow of information. So naturally, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't really discuss. I didn't really talk about the spin-offs for the DC Universe classics, like the Green Lanterns classics, which I don't know whether or not I'll be picking up the whole waves for that. And of course, also the sort of really interesting reveals that they've done for some series, like Figma's actually going to be doing a RoboCop, and they're also going to be doing a R. Dorothy Wainwright, if anybody remembers the anime Big O from the, was it late 90s? I think it was late 90s in Cartoon Network. It was a Cartoon Network created series or something. Really cool anime. But hey, until next time, folks, when I actually upload a review, and then later on I'll finally do news and updates for the month of March, including some interesting updates. Until then.